Hi! The trailer for the 5th season of The Dragon Prince is finally here, and today we're going to break down this entire thing. I will mention things that I think are relevant or noteworthy, along with adding my own theories and opinions throughout the video for fun. So let me know down below what you think of them. Before we get into it, I also want to mention that another analysis video will be coming out soon, as we got another sort of secret trailer on Netflix. This sort of confirms some of the theories I had in this video, but I'm still going to mention said theories in this video, just to make it more mysterious for you guys. But there will be an analysis on that second trailer, don't you worry. There may also be a few spoilers here and there, so you've been warned. Also, before we get into it, if you'd like to subscribe to the channel or like the video, please do. But only after you know you like the video, you know? I'm not going to ask you to like and subscribe before you've even seen my content for the first time. But if you want to, please do. Now, let's get into it. The first shot shows what looks like a tiny boat with one occupant who is slowly sailing towards the dragon through the mist, who we see in the next shot. This scene is likely related to this image here from the image dump. From the looks of this background, they're probably in the human kingdoms, as we see regular pines and birches, as opposed to the more whimsical look of Zadia, but it could also just be in Zadia with regular human kingdom trees. We also see that Rayla has Runan's bow in this shot, which I theorize she acquires quite early in the season, perhaps even in the first episode or so. It depends on how long they take to get to Katalis. In the next shot, we get a view directly within Erebos' prison for the first time. So far, unless I'm forgetting a scene, all shots of Erebos' prison have been through the looking glass, so it's really cool to actually see directly inside of it. From the looks of things, they tidied up the model of Erebos a little bit, as he looks much better than he did in Season 4. In this shot, we can also see that Viren is present in the same way that Erebos was present to him in Season 3, a purple ghostly form. In the next shot, we see Mage traveling throughout a marshland. The scene was revealed to us in the form of an image dump, and it shows Terry and Claudia carrying an unconscious Viren who is currently suffering from a dark magic coma, similar to Callum's coma from Season 2. Here we can see Mage along a river, with Terry guiding the boat with the current. It looks like they're actually being chased by an ocean dragon of some kind. Also in this shot, we can see that Viren is actually awake now, along with the entire series looking a lot cleaner. Can I just say that I love the detailing on these blue rocks behind them? Why do I love that so much? After that, we see Claudia looking rather upset about something, while Terry looks at her with an expression of concern and perhaps a little bit of fear. This appears to be within the same setting or scene as the previous shot, since the boat is identical and Viren is just chilling in the background. Though why Claudia would be looking up at the sky and not the water where the creature was is a bit of a mystery. Now here's where things get interesting to me. The next shot is of Amaya, Gren, Callum, Kazi, and Rayla entering a huge Sunfire library. In this shot, we can see the shadow paw that Rayla and Callum likely used to get to Lux Aurea, as we see it in the stargazing scene. In my reaction video to that particular scene, I theorized that they were currently on their way to Lux Aurea. This is also likely the same library as in this screenshot here, as we see similar architecture on the floor, and of course, many rows of books. This library is filled with Sunfire culture in the form of banners, tiling, these things, and of course the overall color of the build itself. I think this is them researching about Erebos with the help of Kazi, and I will get back to why in a moment. In the next few shots, we are once again in Erebos' prison. While there isn't much more to analyze here other than showing Viren with clenched fists, which perhaps implies that what is being said in the trailer is not what's actually being said in the scene itself, we do see that Claudia faces off against the ocean dragon, which was following them previously. In the background here, we can actually see Viren, Terry, and Sir Sparklepuff all hiding behind a rock watching her, which is really strange to see. The design of this dragon is what gives me the idea that it's an ocean dragon, with wavy details on its wings and aquatic colors, and we of course also see it spit water rather than flames, which is really cool. If this somehow isn't an ocean dragon, I'll be pretty surprised. We see Claudia literally waterbend the attack and redirect it back at the beast. It's interesting to note that in the scene, she doesn't have the sun staff, so maybe this battle actually lasted quite a while and it was knocked from her hand. After Claudia uses dark magic, we also see the distinct physical effects take place as she's exhausted and her eyes go black. What's weird though is that there's this odd sound. Perhaps it's the dragon being subdued? In the next shot, we see Ezrin, Zubeia, Zim, Corvus, Soren, and eventually Pyra, this red dragon here, addressing a crowd of many different types of dragons. Judging based off their color schemes, they look to be a mix of sky, sun, moon, ocean, and perhaps earth dragons, with star-touched dragons of course not being present. Also, can I just say how much this scene reminds me of Pride Rock from The Lion King? Next we see Viren sitting on the coast, and I theorize that this is actually the coastline of the Sea of the Castout, as we can spot the backside of Terry's boat here. And later on in the trailer, we see that they do in fact use this boat even out in the middle of the ocean. By the way, for those who don't know, the Sea of the Castout is here on the map, and it is also carved out in Rex Igneous's tooth, which is why Terry is looking at the goo. He had pressed it against the tooth and likely mapped out the area. This is almost 100% where Erebos is trapped. Now the next shot is absolutely crazy. We see Claudia holding some strange octopus kraken looking creature. There's promotional art of Season 5 depicting a kraken-like creature attacking Callum, so perhaps this is actually that very creature before Claudia uses dark magic on it to make it larger and to make it track Callum. Then this happens. We see Claudia's world turn completely corrupted like the Sunforge. I don't know if this is Viren hallucinating, but what I think is interesting about this scene, besides the fact that it looks like she's standing in lava, is her hair. This is perhaps symbolism to how Claudia is falling further and further to Erebos' side, with an almost Harvey Dent Two-Face depiction of the white Erebos-like hair, and the other side which still remains her own. Perhaps after enough uses of dark magic, her hair will turn completely white and will mimic Erebos' almost completely, as a symbolic representation of how she's fallen beyond saving. Or maybe not. This scene looks ridiculously sick and sickening either way. We can see Viren's reaction to her dark magic use on this Kraken octopus thing as well, which I think is noteworthy. The next scene shows us the same tent where we first met Karim in Season 4. I reckon that this is right after Callum and Rayla arrive in New Aurea to tell Rayla and Janai what is happening, as Rayla speaks about Erebos. These 3 clips are from Season 3, where he corrupted the Sunforge and killed Queen Kessa. We then see Janai waking up from a nightmare, perhaps dreaming of her dead sister, as she of course witnessed it herself on that day. In the next shot, we see Callum frustrated about Viren and Claudia's progress compared to their own, juxtaposed with said Mage fam's apparent lack of progress, as Viren is asleep in the same boat from the previous scenes. Then we hear Rayla speak, and we get a shot of her sitting on a bed with bait. I think this is actually Callum's bedroom in Katalis, made evident by the Catalian stone brick architecture and the wooden bed frame. So Callum and Rayla perhaps go into his room alone? Anyways. Next shot we get is yet another from the image dump, where Raylan plus Amaya are preparing for battle against whatever threat is attacking them. There are several theories on what could actually be attacking them here, and it's actually confirmed now in the new trailer. But the theory I subscribe to the most is that the corrupted Lux Aurean elves/creatures are attacking their position. In the Krim short story, we are told about how the corrupted Sunforge also turned the elves and creatures into dark versions of themselves, with Karim losing his best friend Osato to the darkness. Early on in the short story, we get an implication that these beings thrive at night but are subdued at day, which makes sense since the sun would probably do a good job at quelling the darkness with its own luminosity. Anyways, in the earlier shots of this library, we see that it is indeed daytime, so perhaps they travel to Lux Aurea during the day, but they don't make it out in time, and in the darkness, the corrupted creatures attack. We also see that Amaya has Janai's sword here, and this is a bit confusing. I myself am pretty sure that this is Janai's sword, since the one in this picture appears to only be a knife, so maybe Janai gave Amaya the sword just in case they ran into the dark creatures. But if the sword actually belongs to Amaya, why does this one in this scene look so short?
That's what she said!
Then we get this shot of Domina Profundus, the archdragon of Ocean. She of course was first mentioned in the show back in the exposition dump of Season 4. The colors of the ground that Ezrin stands on matches perfectly with the top of the clan beacon, so Domina may be appearing in the season way earlier than Rex Igneous did in Season 4. We may see Domina as early as Episode 3, unless Ezrin has just been chilling out in the rain at this beacon for multiple days. But given the fact that it's still raining in this shot and the lighting's the same, I suspect Domina took no time at all to respond to the call of the conch. I mentioned earlier that I thought that Raylan was searching about Erebos with the help of Kazi, and the reason I thought this is because of what Rayla says here.
How do you kill a Star Touch elf?
With the Star Devourer dragon, I think. After that, we see Viren face to face with the spectral projection of Erebos again. It's interesting that Viren doesn't need the web eye to see him anymore, unless he has it and we just can't see it from this angle. This also appears to be the same coastline as the shot with the octopus kraken thingy. I really need the better name for that thing. Next we see this honeymoonesque boat go flying down a waterfall, and it just cracks me up how Viren just literally levitates off the bed and then slams back down. If it weren't for plot armor, this probably should have killed him. And then we have this scene where Claudia holds her father's hand while he goes through his dark magic coma. We can tell he's actually going through a dream very similar to Callum's, evident by the bags under his eyes being purple, just like how Callum's had looked. Then we finally see Viren within his dream, where he runs towards a pair of doors at the end of a long, dark hallway with identical doors. These doors are actually the same design as the High Mage's office, so seeing them in Viren's dream may be symbolic of his choice to become a mage in the first place by opening those doors. We then see the doors in the hallway collapse behind him, and I finally have context to one of the screenshots that was dropped. In my video going over them, I said this. It might just be me, but this looks quite similar to Callum's scarf, doesn't it? What could that possibly mean? By now, I can see that it's actually just the hallway he had been running down. Another thing to note is Viren's clothes. He is of course wearing the high mage apparel, but in the next scene, we briefly see a younger version of himself where he's actually wearing a much brighter fit, where the bright could be symbolic of how he's dived further and further into darkness as his life progressed. Also, the way Erebus is mockingly talking about how Viren just has a few hours left is telling, because at the end of Season 4, someone actually calculated that only 10 days had passed. So that means, if that person was right about their calculation, Season 5 spans at least 20 days or more, meaning we will 100% see Rayla's birthday if they cover it, since hers and Callum's are only 2 weeks apart.
Poof!
In the next shot, we see one of the things me and many other diehard Raylan fans have been wanting forever. Rayla and Callum fighting together by combining his magic with her weaponry. This happens in the same setting as when the corrupted creatures likely attacked them in Lux Aurea. Also, this rune looks ridiculously cool. Then we see what looks like Villas' ship being pursued by the infamous Season 5 pirates, and there's a lot to analyze in the scene. First of all, this shockwave coming from Villas' ship. I'm pretty sure that this is Callum speeding up their boat to try to outrun the pirates, and if we let the scene play a little longer, we can actually see one of the pirates on the deck. This absolutely massive man. I have no idea who this could be, but one theory is that it's actually this guy. The shoulders match along with the height, so maybe it's the same person. In the next scene, we are back in Lux Aurea, and Rayla seems to be perhaps showing Callum the cursed coins for the first time, which is an amazing thing to see. Many fans of Rayla were worried that Rayla was going to keep the coins to herself and not tell Callum at all. But in the next shot, we see him actually holding all three. You can also tell this happens in the Lux Aurea library because of the obvious rows of books behind them, along with the sun mural on the ceiling here. All this has led me to another theory. Perhaps while Rayla, Callum, and Kazi are researching about Erebus, Rayla realizes that they could perhaps use this vast building of knowledge to figure out how to free her family. This may lead them to stay in the library much longer than originally anticipated, looking for information on the coins as well. I think that would explain why they would linger in the library for so long despite knowing the obvious risks. We can see Lane and Teodrin in his right hand, and people have theorized that he perhaps uses the Tome of Translation on the runes here. The next shot shows Raylan still within the library, and another theory I had is that this scene is perhaps Rayla apologizing to them for keeping them there so long, and Callum is assuring her it's okay as he holds her hand. I think we can assume from Rayla's reaction that it was Callum who initiated the handhold as well, which is a great sign for the two of them going forward. Also, we can tell that this is before the battle against whatever the threat may be, because the chairs, tables, and books are all still upright in the scene, while they're all knocked over and trashed in the other one. Then we finally meet the infamous tidebound Tina. We first heard of tidebound Tina from a spoiler card. In this scene, they're asking Tina about Akiyu. Akiyu is the other tidebound elf who is also an archmage of ocean. Oh, and by the way, being an archmage does not mean you have mastered all the primal sources. It just means you have mastered one of them, I'm pretty sure. So many people get this confused, so I wanted to try and clear it up here. Akiyu is an ocean archmage, but not a master of all 6 primal sources. Anyway, Akiyu was the one who, along with the Orphan Queen and the Jailer, created Erebus' prison. So they must be looking to ask Akiyu about the prison to perhaps get an idea of how to stop Erebus from escaping. The next few shots just crack me up. I don't know who the voice actor for tidebound Tina is, but she sounds ridiculously similar to the herbalist from Atla, doesn't she?
Let's find a Akiyu.
Who should I tell her you are?
A ragtag squad of bold adventurers.
Some ragtag weirdos.
I hope it's not Miyuki. Miyuki, did you get in trouble with the
Ragtag weirdos.
again?
Now this next shot legitimately makes me sad. We see Callum on the deck of the pirate ship casting a lightning spell, but we can see that this spell was probably the last thing he manages to do before passing out from pain. His face is bloody, cut, and he has a black eye, most likely getting a beating from the pirates on the deck. Callum is by far my favorite character in Dragon Prince, so seeing him in physical pain like this gets to me. But on a more serious note, it also looks like one of the pirates aboard the ship is also a mage, as we can see this man with the barnacle brass knuckles cast a rune of his own before Callum shoots lightning into the sky. Also, this scene is likely the same as this promotional art where lightning is shooting up into the sky as well. Also, in this shot, we see what looks like maybe a goat on the flag. I can't really tell what this is, but I think it's a goat of some kind. Poor Callum. This is what he gets for running off on his own. Where is everyone else? What's he doing here alone? In the next shot, we can see Karim interacting with Sol Regum, the dragon who nearly roasted Callum and Rayla alive at the start of Season 3. We know Sol Regum was returning for quite some time, but we didn't know when, so it's interesting to see him here. Why Karim is using fire is a bit strange since Sol's blind, but perhaps the heat had something to do with it. We then get a shot of Janaya kissing, Tyria and Claudia on the honeymoonist boat, which I hope Viren was asleep for since he probably despises PDA, and a Raylan scene from the recently released Stargazing clip, where she leans her head on his shoulder. Then, we see this thing, based off the Karim short story. I think this is a corrupted banther from Lux Aurea, and Rayla takes aim with very strong form, may I add. The setting around them makes me think that this is actually immediately after the Stargazing scene, since we see the fog, the same lighting, and the same tree type. Then we get this shot, which nearly completely confirms that this is a banther. Also, from the looks of things, this is likely Rayla's last arrow, so no wonder she lets it get so close. The creature has the same dark oozing effects as described in the Karim short story, and eyes that nearly match the color of the Sunforge itself. After that, we see Viren diving into the ocean to save Claudia. And one thing I noticed is that this is almost certainly in his dark dream, since Viren's apparel is that of the High Mage's suit, which he of course does not have anymore. And we then see Claudia sinking further and further into darkness, while Viren is nestled in some sort of crimson light. Perhaps this is also symbolism of how Viren is slowly turning back to the side of the light, while Claudia falls further into the darkness, or under Erebos' control. However, Viren's light is a deep red. This could mean that although Viren is beginning to doubt his path in life, there's still of course a lot of nuance. I really like this shot. And then we see Callum waking up, his face broken, and his eyes dull. I hope he'll be okay. And finally, last but not least, we see Kim Dael, aka the Blood Moon Huntress, enter a room with human soldiers and Sunfire elves, completely wiping the floor with them, and her design looks absolutely incredible. Kim Dael was first introduced in Blood Moon Huntress, and again in her own short story, which goes on to explain the meaning of this chain around her neck. If you want to find out more about that, be sure to check out the short stories on the official website. And there you go! A full breakdown of the official trailer for the 5th season of The Dragon Prince. I'd love to hear your thoughts and theories in the comment section down below. Thank you all so much for watching. Please hit that like button and subscribe for more Dragon Prince very, very soon. There's a new trailer I have to analyze now.